Anybody want to hazard a guess?
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work? What doesn't work?
I don't think there's a condition where it'll...
That's something to think about when you drive, right? So what about if you have prime and prime? What goes wrong if you have n and m both prime? Anything can go wrong?
Yeah, so I don't know, I think like maybe if you try to take like 1 and 0, 1, 0.
Okay.
And you want to find what you can multiply it by, you get the 1 because you have the element of the number. So you need to have, so you have the second element, the second pair of the pair, and you have probably the second one of the pair. Yeah, if I don't write it, then
yeah, I can hear. I hear you. You're fine.
So the second one of the pair times the second one of the second pair, call it x, whatever, equals 1.
Right.
That's
So I think so I think what you're trying to say is what would be the inverse element of 1, 0?
Right.
Yeah. Well, because the reason is that every time 0 is 0. So
Right.
it never happens to be 1. So that's the constant.
Right. Good. So there is no condition. I am evil. But you know, these kind of questions, when you start thinking about them, I think the greatest amount of learning comes from playing around like this. It's the free play with math. It's not the algorithm of going through some computation. It's just playing around with it. So like I said earlier on the exam, you're going to have this opening section where I ask you these kind of questions. Not the last one. I won't ask you something that's... but maybe the advanced group can do that. Provide an example of a ring that's not commutative. Provide an example of an integral domain that may not have an identity, or may not have commutativity. So you have these, or I guess integral domains have everything, but I'll ask you for things in here. I'll ask you for things in here. So look around in these different regions and see if you can come up with an examples. Example building is a great way to learn things. And I don't know if you're familiar with, there was someone here a couple years ago. So some of your undergrads here, I forgot his last name, but he's a math educator. And he worked on how students perceive proofs in the undergrad courses. And this is just highlighted by the AMS, actually. It appeared on their main page. So students feel like it's the professor's job to fill in the examples. But professors know how much they learn, because we went to grad school and we did that, so we know how much we learn, and many professors silently expect their student to come up with examples themselves. So there's a gap between expectations and what's actually delivered. But that's a huge thing. Like, I spent a lot of time in grad school filling in the gaps in books that were like this tiny and yellow. I would fill them all in, and we'd have notes that were just gigantic, filling all these things in. And we understand that that's how you learn. So I keep calling it free play with math.
I'm sorry, could you go back to that previous example and what if blank, then?
So you have a problem, right, when you're trying to look at a cross product.
Right.
Because try to find the inverse element of 1, 0. So you have some elements that have trouble. So I was asking you for offending elements. Okay, so I think I'd like to leave this one on for a video, because this is the last thing I have, is just to show you an example from the last week's quiz. So I'll save that as a video, save something to watch over the next day. And I think that you have a lot to do now with doing these example building things and the homework that's on this take-home quiz to prepare for the exam. So I would like to just stop there, because we're going to start running with the integral domains and the fields and so forth. Sprinting. Any questions? You can submit it online to me if you want to. And you can always check anything you want with me. So if you said, I have a proof for this problem, or I have an idea what this example is, you can check it with me to make sure it's okay. I mean, this class is really good, so I don't have any problem being lax about that kind of thing. So I'd rather just have, if you want to submit the whole thing online and have me check it before the exam, that's fine.
This is like the last section that's going to be covered for the exam.
Yes. It doesn't seem like it because it was on a PowerPoint, but it's actually pretty hefty because I gave you all the definitions that are covered. You can see it. It's like it's compressed. So there's a lot of like, it's like one of those towels that you pour water on and they get big. You can make it big.